So guys, welcome to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show again. I'll come back to a swim that I had a really hot, short trip on. 2 hours of manic fishing. I've come back, I want to try it on the float and a Centrepin. And the wind is 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Hence you'll see the brolly is where I would sort of normally have my landing net. I don't know how I'm going to fish down here and look around the corner. I'm probably going to have to put the chair over this side and sit in the wind. So I've basically got the umbrella up just for microphone usage. Now I'm going to be fishing close in. I'll tell you how close I'm going to be fishing. I'm going to say 48 inches with the float. I'm going to be putting this out about 4 feet so you can see where I'm going to put the bait in. A little bit of ground bait. Wow, is that wind come up? It's shocking. It's a shame really. Going to put some ground bait in there just to get them going. Then I'm going to be fishing with worms. I popped up the local tackle shop and got some dendrobinas. I had a few dead other ones left, and I think about a month old, I should think. And I'll put a ledger rod just here on the corner of those lilies for whatever. Yes, I'm still after that perch, but I'm going to be trying float fishing. I might be able to get your take on the float. Who knows whether it'll go away? Who knows whether it'll even be feeding? It's sort of cloudy with a bit of sun. Look, it's not unpleasant. It's not cold. It's just annoying with the wind. Normally I've got it off my back. Still come for float fishing now. Straight on the old schnoz, straight on the kisser. But of course that's what they say is fish into the wind. Didn't matter last time. We'll find out this time. So this is where I'm going to chuck the bait. Ground bait is just a mix of Bailey's #1 horse feed, a little bit of bran in there because I can afford to put bran in because I'm only throwing it so close, and some I think there's 6mm whatever pellets, I can't remember. Right, where I want to fish, might be 5 feet actually, is just down. I'm going to say how close. Guys, there is 5 feet. Right, I'm going to be fishing right there. I'm not going to get my tape measure wet. I won't take my camera out. I'm going to have to. That's how close I'm going to be fishing. If I stand up and look at my brolly, you'll see it's not a rod length. It's half a rod length out. I'm going to have to hook those loose bits out first. So it's getting towards the time of year when stuff does die off, and unfortunately it's dying off and just hanging right where I want that bait to go. So I might as well get them out now. They're only drifting on the wind. I think they've come from further up. There we just drag it right out the way. But I don't want them. That'll blow in the wind. I just don't want them dragging on the float or the ledger. Now the other thing I've got is I'm trying as best I can to keep the wind off. As you see, I've got my converted barrow, which I turn upside down. That handler can put buzzers and rod rests in there. But better still, I had a lot of trouble last time trying to get it set up right. So I've made these. I don't yet know whether they're going to work. Right, I've sawn off, well that one's not sawn off, that's an original. That's a sawn off old rod rest I had. I got one of these clips there, taped it all round. I tried phase 1, which was drilling them out, screwing them, but I thought no, this way I can move them if I want to, up and down with the tape. And the benefit is, if I'd have cut it off just there, all the strain would have been on this. Whereas this is going down the back of the boarding, so you don't damage the area here. There's a few fisheries you might want to use these for. So I'm hoping that's going to clip on like this and go down the back of the board, and then I can put my float. And I've left this one, look, with an adjustable part on it. So let's see if they work, guys. I haven't done all that work. They can get them there. Just about. I think that'll be all right for the float. I'm not sure about the ledger rod. It needs a bigger clip. So anybody else looking, I'm thinking of adapting it, might want to use a bigger clip. So I'll have to sit behind here, guys. It's the Avon rod. It is here. The proverbial. I don't like these plastic floats at all. They always crack and fill with water, I find. Locked either side with a treble A and a BB. Seems to be about right. Now I've left it, shot it to about there. Normally I want it about here, but I've got the weight of the worms to take into account. I'm also thinking of putting a little like number 8 shot here, just to hold the worm and stop it dragging in too close. I'm going to plumb the depth, just get it slightly over depth, and this is the Centrepin I'll be using. It's called a whatever, a Madfish, whatever, I don't know if there's a number on it, just a Madfish Centrepin. It's fine, nothing wrong with it at all. Now, for those who don't know, these don't have a drag. This is direct drive. You wind this way and it goes out that way, like this, and you wind in. The drag is, well, I put it there automatically because I've done a lot of centrepin fishing, it is there. It's what's called rim control. So you squeeze hard, you put a lot of pressure on it, you relax your thumb lighter, and you can let a fish take line off you. So they're quite positive to play fish with. I won't say they're better. They're really a river, for trotting down a river. And to adjust this, let's take that clicker off. To adjust this, look, if I let go of it, just the spring of that line being tight, if you watch. Can you see that, how that spins? And that's how we fish it in the river. Well, not like this, I'm just trying to show you how well balanced it is. You barely touch it, look, you barely touch it, and it goes. You've also got an adjustment just down in there, which you barely want to touch on the spindle. Just put the screw down so it just touches, because you want, look, if you hear that clicking, you want a little bit of play. And this is a drag adjustment here, so I can unscrew that and actually make it, be honest, spin even freer. If I put it right at the bottom, look, barely touch it. I can blow on it, watch. See, now I've got line all around my feet. So I don't want it too loose here, because I'm going to be watching the float. If I look away, the reel is going to take off and be screaming. It won't be a churner, it'll just be how we used to barbel fish years ago, and you'd be sitting by it, and the reel would go off, and all you did as you got the fish with the ratchet on, you would just lock your thumb over there just to lift into it, and then play it on rim control. So you pinch it here, obviously it would just backwind otherwise and do a huge backlash, and you've lost a lot. So be aware of that when you're fishing with a centrepin. But it is pleasant to fish with. It won't make you necessarily bigger catches, it's just a different way of fishing. Worms are going on there, got a few dendrobinas, and the other one, I get planes everywhere I go. Now I've put my little bite indicator there, a regular fixed spool, 6 pound line, a treble A here, a hook, barbless hook there, and I'm going to just go down there with some worms. Bobbins, I will probably use I'll probably just use, I think, a washing up one. Now I've got 2 types of bobbins. I've got the silver paper, I've actually got 3 types of bobbins. There we go. That's my hair grip one here, which doubtless you might have seen before. Pinch it over the line, it's a busted one, I must have stood on it. But I can use those. I think they might be, in this bit of wind, a bit too light. So I'm going to be using a washing up bottle top. Now, you can try any size you want. And you can also put, like I have done here, Play-Doh, or what we used to call plasticine in there to give it more weight if you want a heavy one in windy conditions. Let's have a look around, see if I can find a cut down one. Or I also get a hacksaw and I cut them down to make them lighter. We'll try one of these first, because there's going to be carp in there, and a perch will probably still pull that up anyway. I close them up, and if you see, I've drilled a hole through there. Let's get the bait in the water, as they say. I'm using one old worm, which, as you can see, is frisky there, and one almost dead dendrobina. God, they must be 3 weeks old, these worms. Not the new ones I've got. And the reason being, you can alternate between a fresh one or you know, a really wriggly one. I'll show you in 1 second. Now that's got to wake some fish up, I know. Or you can fish dead ones. So look, that's got them on the move. Get my bobbin, let's drop it out there. The thing is, when it's windy, you need to get the right weight bobbin. That's why sometimes I put Play-Doh inside them. But this is just a sort of hollow one. It's just a washing up bottle top. And get the right weight on it, and it can work as good as any fancy bobbin. In fact, that's all I use. I don't use fancy bobbins. You can adjust the other end by turning the spool to adjust it and bring it up or down. Obviously, get your chair comfortable so you're right next to it, because as that bobbin goes up, you are going to want to strike into the fish. Now I've got to plumb the depth first with the float. So we do want the bait on the bottom. All I'm using there, as you can see, is 2 BB either side of a waggler float, but just be careful when you slide the shot up and down the line like this, because if you pinch it on too tight and then try and drag the shot up and down the line, it will, I'm going to call it burn it, but it will sort of fatigue it and make a weak point, and then you could strike on a big fish, more so if you're on something like 3 or 4 pound line. So just be careful when you pinch a shot on, don't pinch it on too tight. If you want to be able to move the shot sliding up and down to alter the depth of your float, just be careful, not too tight. Always put everything back where you get it from, otherwise you're going to want to check the depth another day and you've lost your float. So I'm going to use these worms first. These are the old ones, and I can fall back on the better ones. It's going to be windy in the mic when I turn round, guys. If anybody's got any different ideas on how to secure using these clips a rod to a piece of board, let us know in the comments page. I just lost a fish and I lost some shot. Little perch. And we're getting beeps on that as well. Probably could shorten that up a bit. And you can see here how the bobbin, the weight of the bobbin actually does indicate a drop back bite. And then all you want to pull it up is by adjusting the spool. You see me bring it right up tight again. I twist the spool, put some more line on the reel, and that shortens it up back to the level that I want it, you know, like 2 inches above the ground. And these little perch, I mean, caught one after another, and like so many perch, they generally swallow the hook. I don't know what this is, people. The float went on. I thought it was another one of those small perch, but it's not. It's definitely doesn't feel like a carp. Oh, is it? Strange fight. Oh, okay. Maybe it is a carp. It wasn't a lot different from the bites I've been getting, in fairness. It's a strange fight. It seems like it's getting bigger by the moment. Well, hook's fallen out. There's the worms. I love it when I get a bait back. And there's the carp. I'm going to call him about. I'll call him naughty. Not all my naughty common. He's not going to lay too still, as he's going to whack me in the face in a minute. I feel. 9 pounds, which is nice. I'm guessing. Well, I'd love to get a big perch, and they've got some big ones in there, but look, there are hordes and hordes of these little ones now which you have to plough your way through. I think I might actually put a bit more ground bait in, and that in turn might bring a carp in. I might actually push a small perch out. So it was definitely perch after perch after perch, and that's what you get with worms. I mean, with a pinch of ground bait on the hook without the worm, they don't seem to like it. It's like they like the meat type of bait. I missed that one totally on a tiny speck of worm. Well, if I keep getting these tiny perch, I'm going to be changing over and leave the worms and make a paste of ground bait and try that. But the last time I was here I had a lot of success with the worms. Don't forget to rotate that worm, put a bit of a twist in it if you're using barbless hooks, and that does tend to stop them wriggling their way off the hook. Otherwise, you know, you can lose a worm off the hook. And the first bit of meat section, I pop it over the eye of the hook, and that also helps to retain it and help to hold the bait in place, which is what you want. You don't want it in one big gobby mess at the bend of the hook. Blimey's got brakes on that thing, that plane. That didn't sound good. I'm on. Ooh. Oh, and I'm off. That was either a big perch or I feel it might be a foul hook carp, because I just threw another ball of ground bait in, albeit a small bit. The last time I came here, I had, wait for this, I was after big perch. I had one perch. For some reason, without changing the wind, I'm absolutely getting mullered by these chappies. Well, perch upon perch on the worms on ledger or the float. Here we go again. I'll move the bobbin right back up here because I'm fed up getting up and down for... There it goes, look, drop back. I tighten right up, you might be able to see on the rod top. They're just on this one. There we go. Fucking wind. So another thing you can do is, if you oh, look at that bobbin with this baby perch on. Look, he just hooked on there. It's only a small one. Well, in fact, this fish wasn't a perch, a small perch. It turned into be a small bream, which was gratefully accepted. And of course, the bream are very appreciative of any worm baits. You can catch them on maggots, but a small brandling is very good. In fact, if you were targeting bream, my bait of choice would be a brandling tipped with 2 red maggots. That's just my preference. Well, obviously when I catch them, it's the bream's preference as well. And there you can see I'm just dropping that worm bait barely 2 feet off the edge of those lilies. I don't want to go too close to the lily because I could lose a fish and it buries in if I get a big one. And just set up your bobbin, set up for indication how you get a bite. In this case I'm using a hair grip. So what I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted by that bream is, if you're getting pestered a lot by perch, which I definitely am, right species, wrong size, you get your worm set up like this, and then I've pinched a load of ground bait together and moulded it into like a paste, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to go to. I'm going to put that around the worm in a little parcel, and that might attract bigger perch, come around nibbling on this, and just keep the smaller perch off it for a minute, 2 minutes, something like that, until they nibble this all away. And that's not an unattractive bait there in itself. So we give that one a try on the float. Fishing with a Centrepin, as you can see the float is just in off the rod top there. I put it down and it is on what they call a ratchet, so it's got a clicker mechanism, and if that does start spinning I can just reach over, grab it, stop the revolution of the reel, and it won't backwind. And there's not many there. The perch have ploughed through them, I have to say. So it might even be early doors for me tonight. Got a nice bit of warm sunshine on my back, so I'm hoping this wind will ease on the last about an hour. And I'm probably hung up on a piece of rush there. Oh, there's a float come up. Did you see it lay flat? Now that could be a fish that's picked the whole ball of ground bait up. Yes, I think that might have been a carp, of which I missed. So there's a little tip for you. Worm's still there, so you can feed them back around the eye of the hook again. Get yourself a piece of ground bait, squeeze it right around, because a big fish will take the ground bait as well. But it's just a way of keeping those small plague-like perch on any fishery off your bait as long as you can. And there's every chance a bigger fish could pick that off as well. Here I'm sitting back, you actually see me just flick the float out. I think it was a worm bait on, probably would be. I just adjust the centrepin there, tighten up on the line. Fish on. He's trying to get right under that bank of stems there, you can see. Got to be a decent carp, this one, I'd say. You can see just where my thumb is, that's rim control there. Look, I can let him run, I can pinch down and give it a bit more pressure if I want. If he wants to run, I just ease off like that. Now the use of a centrepin really does maintain a constant pressure on a fish. As you can see, I can lock it off with my right thumb there, stopping the spool revolving so it doesn't backlash or spin in reverse. You can apply quite a lot of pressure on it. It's good for big fish as well. It's very constant pressure on the rim control. You keep digging to want to get right under there. If you can see that down there, you're digging trying to get round there. So the little trick of putting a ball of ground bait paste around worms and maggots as well. As you can see, it's another totally awesome tip that occasionally will pick you up the extra fish. As you can see, I maintain quite a good bend in the rod there. And listen, the rod's going to bend the same regardless of whatever reel I'm using. You can use a centrepin, it's just another way of fishing. You're not some superior, better angler just because you catch fish on a centrepin. All I'm telling you is it's a different way of fishing. You don't have to fish on a river with it, but of course a river is what it's designed for, running a float down with the current. But it's quite a pleasant way of fishing. It's something different, that's all it is something different. And a lot of people do enjoy fishing with them, and every now and again I do. I find them slower to fish with, to be honest, than a fixed ball reel. But hey ho, here I go, I'm about to net a fish. So obviously at this particular stage I'm really not bothered. There he is. Oh yes. Very close to the 10, if not slightly over. I'm gonna call him. Get him up for he's close to 10 boys. And on the old Centrepin. It's not the ultimate way of fishing, it's just another way of fishing. Something a bit different. Well, I'm going to give it a little go on worm, but I fear lots of shot there too. I fear it's going to be small perch all the way. The thing is, a lot of the time you can just swish that line out because you're fishing so close to the bank. Your bait and float are close proximity. Well, I'm a bit short on bait. What you can do is when you get bait left over, just put it in a bag. I'm talking like maggots and stuff like that. Put it in a bag, even if it's with the ground bait, and just freeze it. Now this lot's frozen. I've thawed it out and it's all going in the water. Hopefully that might just feed those baby perch off, and I might get something like, you know, a bream, or who knows, a carp or a bigger perch, even a tench. So I'm just using that. It's not wasted. Could have been thrown in on the trip I fished, obviously, but I thought, why waste it? Freeze it, bring it out when you want it, thaw it out, and it can go in. Don't forget, if you do thaw out, make sure it's thawed out, because a lot of time if there's ice in it, it will still float. The other thing I do, any frozen bait like this is thawed out from a previous trip and it's going in the water. Just make sure it is frozen, because if there's too much ice in it, it will float, especially the maggots. And I'm just going to fish this on the edge of the drop-off. Smells a bit funky though. It smells of vinegar. Let's follow it up with a ball of ground bait. This is a feisty fish. I don't know what it is. Ah, one of those small little sort of F1-y common things. Mirrors. They're very pretty, but they are very pretty, but they got to get a lot bigger. Here you can see there's another nice fish coming in. You can actually catch quite a big fish on a centrepin, you know, double figure fish, 20 pounds. It doesn't really matter, it's just a different way of fishing. In it comes another fish. So not a bad little session, quite a bit of action on the float. And basically I'm really only fishing with a float and centrepin. Got a fish on the left hand rod here, guys. Finishing off, I've got one worm left, a little bit of ground bait. So it'd be nice to finish off with a third fish. The wind has finally eased off a bit, so I can actually fish and commentate at the same time. Nice sunset, that'd be a nice ripple now. Yeah, that's just a nice regular comma. And that was on a piece of ground bait paste, so that definitely was worth using. It's one of those totally awesome tips that can turn your day around. Feisty critter, this one, he didn't want to give up. Got him now. Or perhaps not. Act in haste, repent in leisure, is a saying. But we got him. Common carp, I could probably unhook that there, I should say. Put it on the back, Graeme. Well folks, I've lost one other one, just pinged off. And we're going to give it a packing up time now. I've got one ball of ground bait paste left. I'm totally stripped out of worms, all those perch. So good little session. Hope there's a couple of tips there for you. Give it a go and we'll see you in the next film. Well, there you go. A little bit of fishing for you using a centrepin reel. Now it's time to pop over to see Grant at Grant's Tackle Up and see what he's got going in a new section called Hi there, Grant.
Hi Graeme, how are you? You back again?
Not so bad, I'm in again, yeah.
Well, it's either you need some better pellets or you need to go to Specsavers, get some glasses.
I know, the rats are safe.
Maybe a better quality scope.
Well, I'm not great on setting up the scope, but you're going to give us a few tips.
I'll give you a couple of tips. This is a basic scope. I've got customers purchased this morning, which is a Victory CPT Multishot. So what these are like a little pistol. People remember a rat catcher by Crossman, which is a very similar thing. So, although it's not reflecting there in the light.
No.
So it comes as a kit, this one. So it comes as a pistol.
Yes.
Where you get a long barrel and a stock to put on it, and you also get the silencer to go on the front. Get 2 multi-shot magazines, and then what I'll do is, because I've got to switch it into the rifle today for the chap, because some people are unsure how to do it. It's a simple process if you do it every day, so I'll go through and show you how to mount the scope and set it all up really.
Yeah, so, that'd be good, yeah, and that's what, a 2.2 and a 1.77?
Yeah, they do 2.2 and 1.77, it's there on the side, so the two. What I do is say these are not as powerful as the air rifles, they're being CO2, so they're a maximum of an 8 foot-pound pressure on the long barrel. The short barrel being a pistol, it will probably still be about 5 foot-pounds roughly pressure.
So rodent control, closer range?
Close range,
your garden shed type of syndrome.
Your garden shed sort of thing, yeah, definitely. So
not in it, not shooting in it.
Not in it, you'll have holes outside then. So, but what you see on the front of this, they do 1722. There's a bit about it. It's for vermin control and all-round target shooting. It's a CO2 cartridge powered, so we can show you how that all goes in. And what I do is I'll open the cap and show you now. So, within the box, this is your gun. So you get your pistol. Which I'm going to move stuff about, right?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
This is your silencer. We get a mini stock to turn it into a rifle. Also get a long barrel, which I will show you how to put all this together, because this is what the gentleman needs me to do for him, which has a present for his nephew. So one lucky boy.
Yeah, nice little outfit.
And then you also get, which I will show you how to load these, because these are probably the most complicated little magazines if you don't know what you're doing with them. Alright, so you get 2 8-shot multi-magazines. You also get inside this one as well. If I pull that back, you get just a single shot tray for just putting an individual pellet in.
What would be the point in that, Grant? What would you have for one shot?
So we do sell these to the scouts, what they call pony club, where they do like horse riding, air rifle shooting, a bit of it. So they can only shoot a 177, but it must be a single shot tray.
Ah, I see.
It's not multi-shot. So one pellet in, one shot.
I don't trust him.
No, don't trust them. But to be fair, when I start kids off shooting, we always do one shot. It's nice and easy. It is literally one pellet per shot, and you know what they're doing and where they're at. Right, so I'm going to show you how to change the barrel now on this one. So this is actually an air rifle clamp. It's a bit short for this, but when we get the stock on it, it might be a bit longer. So, right, so what we got on the top here, we have 3 little grub screws here. So you've got 2 short screws and 1 longer one that sits in a little dimple sort of recess. So we're going to change these over. So we'll screw these out.
Is that the sort of main mounting for the sight?
No,
for the scope
this
thing?
is for the barrel to go in, but this is actually the rail here as well, which we're going to take this off. That allows us to clamp our scope on it as well, which is known as a 911 dovetail rail. Okay, so I'll show you these. We just take these out. I've even cleaned my tray especially for you, Graeme.
Oh no, that's nice job there.
I haven't washed it, but brushed it, so that's like a bonus.
Well, it is a workshop, isn't it? That's what they call it, a workshop.
Yeah. Right, you just give it a little twist. As you can see, I was saying 2 short ones, you can see the marks, and then the dimple, which is the longer grub screw, which is that one. It's got a little recess on the bottom, and that sits in and stops it rocking or moving around once you tighten down. By
the size of those little screws, it's definitely a job for you and not me.
Definitely, and I haven't put my glasses on, so if I slow down, it's because I can't see. Right, so what we've got here is a barrel support, which picks the barrel up and stops it moving. Now you can see we've got no barrel, so we're going to slide the barrel in here and just give it a nice little wobble until we can get it to line up.
Do they need to have any silicone or lubricants or oil to do that?
So
Is there a special
Generally,
gun oil or something?
there is a gun oil to use rather than silicone oil, because if you use standard just general oil, it will rot rubber. It's a natural
really?
product. So
there's rubber.
yeah, so there's 2 little rubber seals
Yes,
there,
yeah.
2 little O-rings that hold that in
yeah.
place. But what we're going to do is, I reckon, actually, I'm not using that. This is just the maintenance spray, and this will just make it a bit easier.
And doesn't degrade the
Won't degrade
rubber.
the rubber, no. Right, here we go. So as I push the long barrel in, this one's just proven to be a little stiffer, but it's where it's all new. Right, so we pop it in there, and I line up. You won't be able to see probably on the camera, but there's a little dimple in there now for me to put the longer grub screw in. So we support that in there. I don't know if you might be able to see on the white paper the 2.
I can see where you got those little plastic pockets in there for screws and.
Yeah, so you don't lose them. So I don't know if you see a height difference there, Graeme. Right, so what we've got here are the 3 grub screws I've been talking about, and literally I've laid them out so you'd have 2 short ones and a longer one in the centre that holds the barrel to stop it twisting and moving. There we go, so it's a barrel clamp on, which stops any twist. We line that up straight with that one. Right, there we go. And then pop the grub screws back in without losing them. So we're going to pop the 3 grub screws on.
So how long are these double guns, as it were, I'm going to call them, how long have they been coming out? Is that a relatively new thing?
No, quite a while. I've been selling them for probably the last 4 years, so they've been about for a little bit now. There's always been pistol versions of this, that. The most popular has been the rat catcher over the years, but it's just one fixed unit. I quite like this because you can use it for anything. So we normally sell it for an entry-level air rifle for juniors to start, because it's not too big for them to hold and not too heavy. Right, so that's your 3 grub screws done. So this is the spare, you get spare O-ring seals and a spare CO2 seal in it, and then you get some Allen keys to actually change it, because this Allen key here seems to be an odd size. I think it's a metric rather than an imperial, or vice versa.
That's just to tighten that front part.
That's it, so that can't move now, that's solid. Okay. Then got silencer to add to it, which this is your standard ones. Used to be what they call a 1/2 inch UNF thread. This is a 10mm thread, so it is made for this particular model. So I'm going to put a little bit of spray on there just so nothing's dry.
What's the difference between a silencer and a suppressor?
Suppressor, so silencer is meant to silence noise, which is generally longer, and a suppressor is just to break the noise down. You'll hear them called a moderator as well.
Yes, I've
called
heard
all
that,
sorts of things. Most people call them a silencer. That's what we know them as. I mean, the people who are really into it go right into where it comes from. But I think for what we're doing on this, it just reduces that sound a little bit. So we'll call it a moderator because it moderates the sound. Right, so we're going to take this one off now, which is just a screwdriver in the top. And we'll have one more under there, so we get a flat blade. Right, so we're going to finish taking this top side off. So generally take this top flat-headed blade out, which is what you normally adjust your open sights with. You see my spring just popped out. That's why I like to do things on the bench. Then we've got another little crosshead under here, which we'll take out. Right, now you see we've got a little rail up here, which has got a little edge. I don't know if you can pick that up on your camera. You can see a slot in here, a little groove.
Oh yeah, a little groove, yeah.
So that's what we call a dovetail rail in the shooting world. Clamp him in there. Right, I think what we'll do is we'll put the stock on it next, and then we're ready to fit the scope, which I can explain about.
So we're doing something there.
So this is just a thumb hole screw. That's a spare slot to put spare CO2 when you're out and about. Yeah,
handy,
so you can keep it up there, out the way. And all we get with these are, you can see the way they angle in. So you put the top in first, you put a little shove, and then we just go back to putting our screw back in that fixing point again. I'm just going to put a bit of liquid on the thread because they're always bone dry when they come in.
What material would they be made out of, Grant?
It's a plastic synthetic stock.
Yeah, composite stuff or something.
That's it. So nothing special, but we can get camo ones as well, real tree camos. They look quite cool. So you say this is really for a bigger air rifle, but this will.
See, adjust the pinch of stock.
It just pinches stock, so obviously this is a bit shorter, so it fits enough for me to stop having to hold it. So right, now we're going to put the scope on. So I've removed the stud in the bottom, which is generally for when you've got a live firing rifle. We have a pin and a hole in here it might sit in, but we're never going to sit on anything in there. So right. So these are a star drive or Torx screws, as other people might call them. If you mount it that way, you might be looking at nothing. So I think we'll put it...
Fat end towards the end of the barrel.
That's it, the fat end, I think we'll call it that. Yeah, we go with the fat end towards the barrel. So this one just gives me enough space to mount this little scope on, which is just perfect. So make sure it's sat on the mounting point. I never go over the top tighten these. Just slowly tweak them up so they're all sitting nicely on the rail. So I tighten one. I know it's pinched because otherwise you can tighten them. You see that move then?
Yes.
There's only half click. It's just settling into its slot, and that I just gently tweak them all a little bit at a time.
Now you mentioned the word Torx screw, didn't you? Do you actually have a Torx fitting on those?
They're more what we call a star drive, if you like, on that one. So
I'm hearing a ticking noise. Is that?
Yeah, that's it. That's just enough. That's just because it's just pinched tight, and that's it. If you
it's not a Torx screwdriver.
No, so you don't have to keep grinding it. It's literally to the point of touch of its stop and a quarter of a turn, just to nip it up. I seem to have a lot of air rifles where I either repair or on the gun cylinders when we're filling them up. Everyone loves to clamp everything as tight and over tight. What we do is generally break stuff, or when you try and remove something, it seizes together because it's been over tight.
Yes, that's true. So. For a long time.
So that is the little Victory CP2, built up as a little rifle, which is what a lot of people seem to really enjoy shooting at the moment. So they've been really good. And then the next job I've got to do, which I won't be able to film with you unfortunately today, is sighting the scope up.
Yeah.
But what I can show you is so some of the things that we do to start with. So we generally pick a big piece of card, we'd shoot at 10 yards and see where we're at on the sheet.
So this, just for the folks who know, you're taking off, what are these called?
So these are just
horizontal or vertical?
Yeah, so these are your turret caps, scope turret. So this top one on here is for your up and down. You'll find most companies only list one way, so up twisting around to anti-clockwise, down going clockwise. Okay, so what I would do is shoot on my point. If I find it was slightly low, I might do a few clicks up. I'd rather do less clicks and do it 20 times over than do 5 big winds and then I'm lost on my scope and I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah, you've forgotten, yeah.
And the best thing is not start too far away. Start at like a 10-yard mark and work back to where you want to shoot to. Otherwise it's trying to get it all, and a lot of people get lost on the paper before they've even started.
So it's what they call in gun terms, it's sighting in or something like that?
Sighting in the scope. Yeah. So you've got up and down on the top turret. On the side turret we've got left and right. So this one marks left as clockwise, right as anti-clockwise. Okay, sometimes we have a problem with scopes that when people have over adjusted and got lost where they are and they tell me the scope is now broken. 9 out of 10 it's not broken, it needs to be put on a jig and reset, which we normally send back to factory. And the way you can tell is, so you've got your scope rings, when you look down the scope you'll see it'll all look perfect. But if it's been over adjusted, the way to look is you actually look up the scope backwards. I don't even know if your camera will look up that backwards, Graeme, I think. Yeah, so what happens is sometimes when they've been over adjusted, when you look through the scope back to front, you can see where the turrets, and so there's loads of little cylinders in here, and you'll look at them and they won't line up whatsoever, no matter what way you tilt it, and that means your scope is generally running completely out. Whereas if I look down this one, they're all running pretty true. They're all linked to each other in the same sort of size.
I wouldn't have thought of even looking backwards. Right?
No, so it's something I've learnt in the trade from salesmen, to be fair, things like that. Only when we come to sending a scope back on a warranty repair, Generally it's been over adjusted, they reset it and send it back, so it's not normally broken, it's just been over adjusted. So, but we've actually started doing a sighting in service in the shop, just to help people out, because some people really struggle with it and don't want the nonsense of it, they just want to shoot it. I will say that sighting your gun in yourself is your best option, is because it's to your eyes, not someone else's.
Yeah.
So, because if I pick up my dad's rifles and go shooting, you have adjustable eyepiece. This one's a unfortunately, it's a fixed eyepiece.
So that's fixed at the front.
This is fixed down at the rear. It's a fixed 4x32, but it's for short, close range shooting, plinking target rifle. So normally you'd have an adjustable piece on the back, which I'd have to talk you through on another one, and that focuses your crosshair. So if I get my dad's guns, they're normally wound out about this far, so he can see everything, and I can't see anything, so I have to wind it all the way back in.
Now that's something of interest, because the other thing I've had is I've probably had trouble either putting my eye too close to it.
Yeah.
And I can't sort of see what the bloody hell's going on, you know.
What that's to do
is that because I should bring my head further back, or have I sighted it wrong?
You need to remount your scope.
Okay.
So every scope, when you pick your gun up,
Yeah.
really you should pick your gun up to your eye, and I can see straight down that scope already. I mean, I'd say maybe a bit of pot luck there, Graeme, because I didn't actually mark it up. So, but that's only really got a minimal amount of movement on the front because it's such a short rail.
Yes.
So normally your rails would be a bit longer, and you would put your scope onto the gun and move it back and forwards so it's the right distance off your eye. I'd probably say, look at my maybe 50
I'm looking at you
mil.
say 4 inches, 4 inches.
4 inches, so that's ideal. And literally you want to pull your gun up to your eye, and it is straight on point.
But the thing is, your eye don't need to touch that, like a pair of binoculars.
No.
If you have binoculars, your eyes touch the hood.
It. Yeah,
that might be my problem.
You need to be off it. Otherwise you get what I call it a fish eye, because you can see a black ring.
Yeah,
all the way
that's
round.
it, that's it, that's
It's
it.
not lining up.
Well, it's handy for me as fisherman.
Yeah, there you go.
Fish eye goes,
fish eyes, yeah. So I didn't want to say anything, Graeme.
Yeah, no, but that's what the problem is. I'm trying to go too close to it.
Too close. So maybe you should bring your rifle in, Graeme, and we'll remount it to actually suit where you've got it sat.
Will I hit a squirrel or rat now? Are they safe at the moment?
Maybe if you crossed your eyes, we might be all right, Graeme.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, but yes, bring yours in. We can resight. But
tell us about what they run off the cartridges then.
yeah,
a few
so
tips.
This is a CO2 based one, and it's a 12 gram CO2. I get loads of different types all the time, but this is a Humrex based one, which I really like. It's got Airstream on this one. Every time I get it, they've got a different print. So what we're going to do is show you the little tips that I do to keep your gun lasting a bit longer. So that's your chamber for where your CO2 is going to go in.
Yep.
Okay. And then this is our little 12 gram CO2 cartridge. You can see it's like pointed one end, and this is where we're going to pierce the gas come out. And bearing in mind that when you pierce this, it is so cold it freezes. The whole cylinder will freeze as well. So inside you've got a little rubber O-ring, which I might be able to pop out of there, just to show you what it sits against.
You mentioned earlier on, I heard you talking to one of your other customers in there saying not to put, was it oil or grease on them or something?
Oil. So what oil does is it's a natural, it just rots natural rubber. Might not do it straight away, but over time. So say you put in oil on the end of these, it will rot that seal out, and then what will happen, it just start leaking. So when you pierce the cartridge, the gas will go past. But you can see where that roughly sits inside there. It will be sat just over it almost, not quite, just like that.
Yeah.
But what happens, that's so cold it freezes that rubber. So
really?
over time, if it keep going in, keep freezing, it will perish it. Or you might find sometimes you undo your cap to take your gas out, and it'll stick to that and it won't fall out. That's why you actually have these little ports on the side, so you can put something in behind and just give it a little flick and it pops the cartridge out.
So that's to get the cartridge out, yeah.
So what there we go. So what we do in here, use a bit of grease.
Special grease?
Yeah, well this is just actually a real grease.
Yeah, gotcha,
fishing. You could use Vaseline, something like that, and what happens is I just dip a little bit on the tip of it, not a lot.
Yeah.
And all this does is it stops it freezing that seal, because it won't freeze the grease.
I see, yeah.
So now we're going to drop that one into there. And I found this little tool, which I never realised was on it to start with, these particular pistols. So you wind this one in. Just tighten it up gently, and you can see this will suddenly start stopping. Right, you can see that's now touching the cylinder, so we've got to make that pierce the other end. So this is actually like a little T-bar, and you just pop it in the hole just until it stops,
Don't make any noise or popping or hissing, no?
No, because it's all sealed. That grease will stop any of that. It seals it straight away and that's straight in. So you have to just make sure it is definitely pierced. You have to do quite tight on these. That's definitely in there. And then this is a little storage bit.
Oh, it goes in there, that's handy, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant little design there, really. So normally the first shot won't always cue it. You can dry fire these. And we've got safety on the trigger.
Yeah, so you're away.
As you can tell, there we go, we're up and running now. Doesn't sound a lot, but if I remove the end cap, you will see what difference this makes to the noise of the gun.
Oh yeah, a lot louder, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, brilliant bit of kit. Great for target shooting, small rodents if needed.
And the magazines, you got
the magazines. So yes, so at the moment that's a single shot tray in there. And then what we'll do is we shall. I'll show you how to load the magazine because this is probably one of the.
So you don't have to dismantle anything else.
No. So I'll show you these. So these are what they call a wind back on a spring. So you can tell if I wind that way, it's not really doing anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you watch this little mechanism on the inside.
The cogs, yeah.
You see it's moving all the way around now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spin that all the way to here.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over the other way whilst holding it. I'm going to get my pellet and I have to drop it in backwards. Okay?
Yeah.
Now what that's done, it's trapped the spring. So now I can move this. Okay, and then I'm going to go back round and infill where all them other pellets are.
Any recommendation on pellet shape, size, depending on what you want, I suppose?
Not too heavy, something lighter. These ones are about 14 grains, which is about average for a 2.2 pellet. There you go, so that's your loaded magazine. And then I'll show you outside the gun because you'll see how it works. So every time you cock the lever on the gun, you're going to push the probe through and it will drop the pellet out. Which we might have to push it, right, and you watch when I pull it out.
Oh, I see, it's under tension and rotating.
It's under tension, so this isn't quite right because it's not big enough, so I'll just push that in there.
Yeah, it pops
another
out.
one. Another one.
Yeah.
Another one. We just keep going. It's a bit smoother on the real gun until you're empty.
Got it. Oh, it's handy.
So it's quite a good little thing, just slightly different, but it's that thing if you have to remember, if you wind by that way it does nothing. If you wind that, you see the spring starting, and then you spin it all the way around. That's it, to give the tension. Then you pop your first pellet in, back to front, which then holds it in place, and then that will be able to slide back round, and then you infill.
That other pellet stays in all the time then?
Stays in there all the time, yeah. Pull the bolt back and slide the magazine out, and you can see it's got a magnet there.
That's your single shot, yeah.
That's your single shot train. You see there's a little magnet dot on the other side there in the gun. And that's all we're going to do again now. You've got your magnet dot, magazine, there's a little recess down here that sits in, so leave the bolt back, that's it, and then you push forward, which I'm got to go all the way forward, and every time you cock the gun and go forward it rotates and away you go again.
Oh, brilliant. So how does it work on the foot-pound limits that comes with the air rifles?
So different to what we discussed on another video, because these are CO2 powered, they're not as high a pressure as a PCP or a spring gun, which are 12 foot-pounds. As a pistol, it knocks out, it should only be a maximum of 6 foot-pounds. So these are about 5.5. And normal CO2 is about maximum about 8 foot-pounds, which you won't get much more because of the cartridge pressure. But when you stick the longer barrel on, you'll get you'll get 100 feet per second faster than when you got the short barrel on. So it'll give you a bit more hitting power than you would if it was short. So you're still all within your legal rights to have it as a pistol or a mini rifle. Obviously it's not going to be a full powered top end rifle, but it is for garden plinking and stuff, and it's
rodents, garden length rodents.
That's it, yeah. So it's designed for shooting in smaller places, but very good and great to start the kids with because you've got the single shot tray, you do have the safety, you've got a nice small stock on it. It just all suits very well.
Well, thanks for watching that one. Bit interesting. I'll tell you what, I'm so pleased that Grant didn't ask me to take those little grub screws out, because you know, it's like, have you taken a fishing reel apart? Tink, 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 tink. Oh, screws, nuts, bolts, grab screws. Which one goes where? Are they on the floor? Am I going to pick them up in the Hoover? What a nightmare. Leave it to the professionals. People, we'll see you in the next issue I'm going to try and keep these double uploads going. I've got loads more stuff and I'm holding the best stuff back for you. See you in the next one.